G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. We'll have all the show notes and any resources mentioned in the cast on our website. After years working in banking and IT, on a blanket in the Wimbledon Common in London, where the Wimbles live, Jon and his wife decided to move back to Tasmania for more space and a better lifestyle soon after their first child arrived. In 2002, aged 32, they bought a small cafe restaurant in Hobart and sold it 5 years later. After a couple of years back working for the man, they got the small business itch again and in 2009 set up Atlas Cafe in the Hobart Bus Mall. Then in 2016, the Stagg, a successful cafe in the wall. With both cafes running smoothly and needing little of their time, Jon decided to start Hobart Mountain Bike Tours in 2017, which has had mixed success. Funding has been their own savings initially, then a small bank loan for Atlas. Starting with 5 FTE in 2002, now have around 20 in the team and over 2 million in annual sales, most of that in the 2 cafes. Jon says to use your probation period to ensure a new team member is a good fit, especially culturally, employs the no dickhead policy and has dramatically changed the way he manages people. He believes the hardest thing in growing a small business is staff. Advice he'd give himself on day one is don't be scared, jump in with your boots on, you're going to make mistakes, don't be scared to make mistakes, believe in yourself, do it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Jon Stagg from Atlas Cafe, the Stagg and Hobart Mountain Bike Tours here in beautiful Hobart, Tasmania. Thanks for your time, Jon.
Oh, pleasure. Absolutely pumped to be here. No one's ever wanted to interview me before. I'm stoked.
Let's start with how we know each other. A good mutual friend of ours, Anne Gigney, who I work with on the Distillers Institute online courses we've just recently launched, suggested I have you on the cast. And I've also been into your cafe quite a few times when I used to work nearby at Lark Distillery. So I'm very fond memories of wonderful coffee from Atlas.
Oh, thank you.
So maybe tell our audience a little bit about your business, you know, how it got started, what it does, how it makes money. You've got 3 in the group.
Yeah. How it got started, wow. My wife and I worked in IT and banking and we were in London and we had our first child and we were sitting on a blanket in Wimbledon Common in the summer. And if anyone's ever been to Wimbledon Common in the summer, you'll know that we were there with about,
10,000
people. Other people.
Yeah, I've been there. And I used to live in London, yeah.
Well, you put your blanket down and that was about all the space you had. My son was sort of crawling on the size of the blanket. And I just thought about my childhood in Tassie where just there was so much space and you could do whatever you wanted and you could roam and it was fantastic. And I sort of thought, you know what, London's been fun, but probably time to go home and let my kids grow up in the same environment I did. So we came back to Tassie and there are almost no jobs in financing, certainly not in IT and financing in Hobart at that time.
What year was that you came back from London?
2002,
Yep.
I think. And Sue said, hey, I found this really cool restaurant. It's called Cafe Cara. How hard can it be?
Famous last words.
Yeah, wow. So that's how we got into it.
And is that where Atlas is now? Is that where the
No, Cafe Cara, I don't know what it's called now. It's on Liverpool Street. It was a fantastic place. It was started by a lady called Maria Denoya.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably one of the first places to sort of do, not the first, but one of the first places to do sort of proper coffee and sort of a Melbourne-style cafe. And it was a lot of fun and it was a lot of hard work and we had absolutely no idea what we were doing, none whatsoever. But my wife's exceptionally clever and works really hard. And I discovered that I just loved serving people. And between us, we sort of muddled our way through and that was how we started. We sold it after 5 years and then I think I worked as an accountant for a couple of years. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too, actually. I'm not sure what I was thinking. Everyone said you'll hate it, you'll be bored. I said, no. And I like studying, and I had to study to do it, and I love studying. I thought, no, we just like studying. It'll be fun, it'll be problem solving. And no, I was the 35-year-old new boy that they gave all the boring tax bloody files to, and wow. Sue said, there's a cafe for sale, just near where you were working. what do you think? And I'd already signed the paperwork before she finished that sentence, and that's Atlas.
And what year was that?
2009.
Great. Right. I was going to ask what age you really got started in business. So when you started the first cafe, 2002.
Would have been 32.
32, right.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it was a huge learning curve, and it was a lot of fun, met a lot of people and enjoyed it, but I'd have to say we didn't have a clue what we were doing. Just not even really what, by the time we left we did, but not even what business was about at that stage.
Well, I've never been involved in a cafe business or really food and beverage per se, but I've heard through my network and other mentors that it's really tough industry to make money from or to run well. So you've done well to be around for as long as you guys have.
Yep. The thing that really ticks me off is back when Cafe Cara was about, it was probably a lot easier because not many people were doing decent coffee, and we sort of got a bit of training and tried to learn as much as we could about it, and I think we probably made reasonable coffee, certainly for the time. And at that time, all we had to do was make decent coffee and people turned up. Now, I'd say we're actually very, very good at making coffee, but so are a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder to make money. If we'd had the knowledge and the skills that we do now at Cara, I think we would have bloody raked it in. But instead, that was when we got our experience.
Right. So, okay, so that's Atlas. So how much longer after that, or what year did you open the next business, which I assume is the Stagg?
Yeah, we opened the Stagg in 2016. We had to make a decision about, business was doing really well at that time, and we had to make a decision about how we were going to expand. I'm not sure why. I guess most people think this way, is that things are doing well, you've got to expand, you've got to, in hindsight, I'm not really sure you can do. You just stick to what you're doing, do it better. Anyway, we decided to expand, and we looked at renovating through the wall at Atlas into the shop next door. And sort of expanding where we were. And we also looked at possible other cafes, and for one reason or another, we decided that we'd start another cafe. There wasn't a cafe there, and I think the challenge of actually starting something rather than buying an existing business appealed. And
that part of Hobart, Elizabeth Street there is, being gentrified. University's obviously put accommodation in there now, so that area of town's really starting to develop as well and get a lot more people through it.
Absolutely. And we were one of the first businesses in that process, and it's been so exciting to watch that area develop, and the enthusiasm and the energy of the new business owners. It's been so exciting to be part of that. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, and the business is doing really well, despite when they built the university accommodation, the 650 people live immediately opposite. We thought, ripper. Stupid me forgot that uni students have absolutely no money. I seem to have forgotten the days of being a Povo student where I used to work wear your work clothes, where you got a summer job and you pick a job where you get free clothes, so you'd have something to wear for the next year. I'd forgotten all of that.
Yeah.
But so then we sort of thought, well, we're actually doing all right. Who are our customers? But up that end, the business community sort of supports itself, which is nice. But there's also some really good customers like the Ambos and the Fireys, and the police will go anywhere that's open, and it's 7 days, so they go there. And
it's a different cafe to Atlas, isn't it? Because it's more of a smaller kind of hole in the wall cafe.
Totally different. It's totally different. At Atlas, there's some seating, but it's, I don't even know how to describe it. On the face of it, it probably looks quite similar, but it's not. It's totally different. Customers are different. The service we give is totally different. But it works. It seems to work there. I don't know that Atlas would work up there, whereas Atlas seems to work really well.
And what about
where it is?
And what about the mountain bike tour business? So when did that start, and how did you have that idea, and maybe talk a bit about that?
Yeah, mountain bike business has now had 3 seasons. Hasn't been particularly successful for reasons that aren't to do with the business. The first year we had no idea what we were doing whatsoever, but Atlas was running fairly well, so I had a bit of spare time on my hands, and so we did that, and we just sort of tried to see what would work, and it looked like there was a market there. Second season, relatively did much better, but then we sort of were working out what it was that worked and how we could do it better. This third season was an absolute disaster. I had to take 3 months off for health right in the middle of the season. Then, just as I was getting back into it, the COVID-19 thing kicked off, and its tourism businesses are all facing extreme challenges. Is that a good way to say stuffed?
Yeah,
facing extreme challenges.
And what about like any key numbers you can do to illustrate the growth, like over those years for the group of companies?
The mountain bike business?
Well, no, I guess across the board, your three businesses, kind of maybe.
Yeah, I just think some really easy to. They mightn't be the financial numbers everyone's used, but just some really key ones that are easy to get your head around. The first day at Stagg, Sue and I worked by ourselves, and we turned over $300.
Right.
Yeah, it's now doing, I don't know, do probably about 20 grand a week, which is not bad for a cafe.
Wow, that's $1 million a year, John. That's phenomenal. Well done.
So things are going much better. The mountain bike business, in the first year, it lost so much money that the tax office said, no, that's not a business, that's a hobby. Well, you bastard.
Here, we're going to give you money.
I've been counting on that tax loss.
Yeah.
I think the second year we, I don't know, made about 30 grand, and this year I think we're probably going to lose money again.
Yeah.
And Atlas, Atlas is a bit all over the place. 5 years ago, when the Mercury was there and Westpac was there and the bus mall was fantastic and you could find car parking, we were turning over to 3-4 grand a day, which is not bad for a 5-day week business.
Yeah.
It's dropped down a little bit off that, which is probably not the trajectory that most business owners look for.
And what about team size? Like when you started Cafe Cara, like how many were there? How many yourself and Sue, and how many full-time equivalents, I guess, to what you've got now across the team?
Yeah, when we started Cara, there was Sue and I, and there were probably 3 full-time equivalents, I suppose. It was 6 days a week. What have we got now? I'm trying to think how many at the last Christmas party. I don't know, 14, 20, if you don't include the casuals for the mountain biking business. Probably got 4 casuals in the mountain biking business, but they are pretty casual.
Yep.
As well as their attitude, their employment basis is pretty casual. People ring up and I just have a pool of casuals and I ring around and say who's available.
Yeah, right.
So maybe 20, I don't know.
Great, 20 full-time equivalents. That's phenomenal growth to go from yourself and Sue, so 5 FTE up to 20 over all these years, and to have 3 businesses, that's great.
Yeah, all right. Not sure I agree. Still don't feel like this. One of your questions is, when did you feel like you succeeded?
Well, that's the next question, yeah.
Oh, God.
I was going to say, here comes...
I'm not sure I have.
I was going to say, here comes the hardest question, yeah.
Well... I really don't think I have. I'm still learning. A mate of mine described business as surfing. He said you can paddle as hard as you want behind the wave and you'll never bloody get anywhere. If you can put that extra bit of effort in and get in front of the wave, it all becomes easy. And I thought, what a great analogy.
It is.
Sure if it means anything, but it's a good analogy.
It is, yeah.
I still feel like I'm just
always paddling
hard and not getting there. I guess in the last... probably 6 months, I feel right. We're in control. We've got some idea what we're doing, and it seems to work. I guess right now, Sue and I could probably walk away from the businesses and they would still operate and we would still earn an income, whereas up until now, it's almost been a job, and Sue and I have to be there and have to do it, which is 100% the wrong way, I feel. that you should run a business. If that's what you're doing, go and get a job.
That's right. You don't want to just buy yourself a job. But that sounds like success to me, though, John. If you're at that stage where you don't necessarily have to be there if you don't want to, that's great.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Wow.
And that's the next question. What does success look like to you? Is that how you'd frame it? I guess having the ability to choose when you work, if at all?
Yeah, and that's one way to frame success, I guess. For me, success is I like building staff up and getting staff to the point where they are now as capable as you are, or more capable in doing most of the roles in hospitality. One of the big challenges we've got is that fairly low margins. Your staff are usually young, and you've usually got to train them to do what you want. Retention rates are typically terrible.
Yeah,
particularly chefs.
Of staff, yeah.
Yeah, particularly a lot of people, because it's casual, a lot of people will just work till they're exhausted and their holiday will be quitting and finding another job, or finding another job and quitting.
Yeah.
Saying I can start in 4 weeks and that's their holiday. We've had a lot of staff that have stayed with us for a long time, and that to me, what success is, that's
great.
Success. You can't edit that bit. Woo!
Yeah.
But having people that want to work for you, that's success. There you go. That's a lot more succinct. Having people that want to work for us.
Yeah, that is good. That is a good indicator. Yeah. What about funding the businesses over the years? Did you any bank finance or government grants? Any investment?
Yeah, look, that's probably not a great tale either. So we were over in London working in banking and making an absolute mozza, and we just bought the first business with cash. Most of that mozza is now gone.
Yeah. What was that? I heard that saying, the quickest way to become a millionaire is to be a billionaire and buy an airline. I think it was Richard Branson that said that.
The quickest way to, start with $1 million. The scale's a bit different, but it's probably a similar story running a cafe. Wow.
Yep. So no other investment, just suing yourself? What about bank finance or government grants?
Yeah, we have. We're currently using there's an interest-only or interest-free government business loan.
To the COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we've applied for that, and we're setting up a catering business and a third cafe, touch wood. Hopefully by the time this comes out, it'll all be sorted.
Great.
The lawyers are currently mutually bloody stalling so they can up their fees at the moment. But I think it should be sorted. So we're using that government loan to set up another cafe and a catering business. So that's the funding we'll use for that.
Glutton for punishment. Yeah, it is exciting. Glutton for punishment.
Not really. The thinking here, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, is that we've got 2 small cafes with 2 piddly little kitchens. We do a lot of catering, and our catering is almost to the point where we go, no, we don't want to do that. Sorry. Just because we can't increase it anymore. So we've got this new cafe has got a really big kitchen, and that's really why we want it. And that kitchen will then do all of the cooking instead of sort of splitting the load. What kitchen does what? We'll do all of the cooking for the cafes and the catering business and all of that. And that's going to be funded by the government's.
Yeah, great.
Excited, really excited.
That's excellent. But before the COVID stuff hit, did you have bank finance at any stage of the businesses? Yeah,
when we started when we first started Atlas, we had a small loan to get us through at Atlas. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was just a small loan. We could have paid for it, I guess, but we decided not to.
And if you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into the cafe business industry?
I'd go into hospitality. You bet.
Yeah.
Well, I guess every hospitality person, maybe every business person, dreams of, if I had the money. We've got our mind on one side at the moment, and I'm not going to tell you where it is because it's owned by someone else that I haven't spoken to. But just setting up this fantastic place, and it's going to be a cafe, and there'll be sort of bike hire and sort of some associated associated businesses that we think will work with it, and a big lawn area and be a fantastic restaurant, and but it's going to take a lot of money.
Yeah.
I've got a quote for somewhere between 1 and 3. Quote's probably too definite. I had a chat to a mate who said, somewhere between $1 and $3 million, Jono. I went, I don't have that. But that's what I'd do. I guess one of my big plans is with the mountain bike business to set up a mountain bike lodge, and run the business out of a lodge. But you need a lot of money for that, and we certainly don't have it. And we've never had investors on before. And I guess a couple of questions later in the interview are about, what are your biggest challenges? And not having the confidence in myself, a lot of confidence in suitability, but not mine, and going to investors and saying, look, here's a plan, why don't you come on board? I'd always be worried that I'd have to go back to them and say, sorry, I lost all your money.
Yeah. But I mean, we're on the lodge idea. There's a couple of good successful businesses in Tasmania pre-COVID. Obviously, Blue Derby Pods, as you'd well know, the mountain biking is it like $2,800, I think, a pop for. Sorry, I think it's about $2,000 a pop. The Three Capes Walk, the cabins there for 3 nights are like it's nearly $3,000 just for that walk. And so there's plenty of premium offerings out there which seem to be doing quite well. Sapphire as well, minimum $1,500 a night, staying at Sapphire. Yeah. Oh, look, it's what I'm working towards. That lodge is, I guess, my dream. And I just think it'd be so much fun to set up a lodge that people come and they want to be there and they want to have fun. And I'm pretty sure I've even worked out a bloody menu for it already. It shows your vision and your passion then, doesn't it? It sounds like you're going to make it happen.
Just my head around how to get the money for it and where it's going to fit in. And I was looking at a $1 house, €1 house in Italy at the moment. That God will have no time and no money. But that's the ultimate goal is this mountain bike lodge. It's going to happen. I just don't know how yet. I know what, I just don't know how.
Great. Well, when you get that up and going, I'll certainly have you back on the cast to talk about that business. That sounds exciting.
Woo, fantastic.
Well, can you outline the most stressful point so far in your small business journey?
Just one?
Just one. Yeah, pick one. Yeah, the most stressful. I mean, this part's really good for the audience to hear because obviously a lot of other podcasts are all about the successes and the wins and all the great stuff. And what we want to delve into is when shit goes wrong, how hard it is to run a small business and grow it. Yeah,
look, you're talking to the right bloke. I had a chat to Sue about this, and she said when we sold Cafe Cara, so the first business, and communicating with staff, I think a lot of staff felt we let them down. Look, maybe we did, but it was quite a stressful time, and just having people feel that we let them down was just awful. At the moment, I like to think pretty much everyone that's worked for me at Atlas, probably if I saw them in the street, we'd shake hands, say good day, and probably grab a coffee or a beer. I know that some of the staff who I had good relations with at Cara probably sort of turn around and walk the other way. It's just a communication issue. And when every business gets sold, it's just a matter of walking through the process with your staff at the right point and making them aware. And I know some business owners don't think so, that almost treat staff like goods and chattels and they go with the business. But it's so important not to behave that way. Absolutely. We were sort of being led a bit at that time with no experience. Once again, not having the confidence in myself I know how I like to treat people. Instead of being told, don't tell your staff. No, tell your staff up front. And if that doesn't work, well, you treat your staff. You look after them first. And they'll look after you and the customers. So do you feel you learnt from that experience? You do things differently next time? Absolutely. Talk to your staff. So on that theme, had a couple of staff leave. And the reason they leave is because I wasn't communicating with them regularly or effectively, and they sort of filled in the gaps. Oh, John's not talking to me. oh, he's probably not happy, or Joe's not talking to me, oh, maybe I'm not doing a good job, or maybe this is happening, or maybe don't let people fill in the gaps. Talk to them all the time. There's nothing to bloody say. Just saying, hey, how's it going? Anything you want to talk about? You'd be surprised how often they go, well, actually, there is. And there's not much you can't solve with a bit of notice. It's not everything, but there's not much you can't solve.
The interview I did last week with Christopher Stenhouse from Switch Media, he said that exact point as well. You can't over-communicate. We think we're communicating enough as leaders, but we never are. And I said to that, one of my sayings is that I believe communication is the key to any relationship. And I'm a big advocate for the Manager Tools podcast. These guys, the best management resource out there that I've found, and they really suggest having a weekly one-on-one with any full-time direct report. It's only 30 minutes a week. First 10 minutes for them, next 10 minutes for you to talk, give feedback, ask about projects, and the last 10 minutes is on their professional development. But that first 10 minutes, even if people often push back and say, oh, don't need to meet this week, got nothing to say. So I say, fine, let's just sit down. It'll last 1 minute. And then I always start with an open question. How are you going? And you'd be amazed what comes out of that one question. A lot of the times it can be shit going on at home that you had no idea about that is impacting their focus and their performance, and you obviously need to cut them some slack. So really valuable tool.
Yeah, that was a hard one to learn, but I completely agree.
And what area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Probably a couple. Early on, it was accounting and bookkeeping. I think I've got a master's degree in accounting now because I went to TAFE and did basic bookkeeping, and then I love studying. So I then did, an advanced diploma, and then I went to uni, and I already had a basic degree, and so they were offering a master's of accounting, or I think that's what it was called. So I went and did that, and I probably know pretty well how to do the numbers and the figures, and I absolutely hate it, and it bores me silly. If I start doing it now, I fall asleep, and I'm not kidding. There were huge returns. Back in Cara, when we had no idea what we were doing, and I was able to get a real tight hold of the cash flow, that sort of helped us a lot. I don't do that so much anymore. Sue probably does that a lot more than I am. We've got a bookkeeper. But that was a big investment that really paid off. Now, I'd say it's more the people skills.
Yeah, definitely.
With my reading, I'm sort of reading books about the hospitality industry, books about people, books about networking, and that's more where I'm focusing rather than sort of the technical side of the business. Yeah,
you can't do it on your own, especially in hospitality. You need good people that will follow your lead and are motivated. So really honing that skill takes a lot of work and study. Yeah.
Look, over the course of the journey, which hasn't finished yet, but I've sort of changed my strategy pretty fundamentally on how I deal with staff. Just absolutely fundamentally. Initially, it was hire people, pay them, and then they have to do what you want them to do.
Yeah.
What a shit approach that was.
Yeah.
Now it's find out what people want to do, and if that works for you, that's great.
Yeah.
If that works for you, and we've got people that are doing all sorts of different things, and they want to work for us because we've got one guy that's into filmmaking, and it's a really all over the place business that's sort of on for 6 weeks and then off for 18 months and on for. And so what he wants is some stable, reliable daytime work. And we can provide that for him, and he's a great worker. And we've got another bloke that does photography for weddings over summer. That's on the weekend. He needs 1 or 2 days off for editing and that stuff. But in the meantime, he needs some stable, reliable income, and we can provide that. And that's more how I think about it now than I did when I first started. And I thought, I pay you, you should do what I want.
Yep. A dictatorship.
There's plenty of it out there, but I would
just anyone. Dictatorships and managing by fear, as I call it, doesn't work in the long term anyway. Yeah. And what have you enjoyed the least about managing the fast growth?
I get really bored easily, so probably the most fun thing is when things are happening quickly. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Flying by the seat of my pants, but the least, guess thing I like the least when it settles into routine. I get really bored. That was not a very good answer.
That's all right. Which feeds into why I guess you love hospitality so much, because you love interacting with people, whether it's staff or customers. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I love about it. And I still sound like I'm a bloody billionaire. I still love working the front desk, the counter, and just saying good day. Every morning, get up, and some mornings are hard and some mornings are easy, but generally they're pretty hard. The second you open the door and a customer walks in, you say good day, it's like, bing, I'm on.
Yeah.
And I realise that's why I do this. It's not...
So it's not the triple espresso. It's not the triple espresso you've just inhaled.
No, it's just, I just get an absolute buzz out of it.
That's good. And I think it's an important point for business owners to understand where their passion really is, and within a business, make sure they play to that strength and passion, because then they're going to get the most out of it. They're going to provide the greatest value to their customers as well and the team, because you're going to be the happiest.
Yeah, that was my answer. I wrote that down in my notes. I was going to say
I've stolen your homework. What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Oh, I think we just talked about it. The way I treat staff.
Yep.
They've got to want to do what you want them to do.
Yep.
I guess it was further to what I was saying earlier. It's okay if they don't. If they don't want to do what you want them to do, that's okay. And you can have a really polite, gentle conversation. Say, well, maybe you need to look elsewhere to find what it is you want to do. And I'm happy to help you get there.
Mm.
And if you phrase it like that, it's a much better way than, you're not doing what I want, you're not working hard enough, you blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Instead, it's, look, what do you want? It's obviously not what we're providing here. And maybe it's time for you to start looking elsewhere to find that. And if I can help you to do that, and while I'm helping you, you can help me to run my business, then we can both come out of it, and in 12 months' time or 2 years' time, hopefully both of us will be in a better place. And that sort of attitude, I think, has been a big, big change for me.
Yeah, I think that, and I've seen that happen in a lot of businesses where the owner has taken that attitude. It's really one of servitude or helping other people, not just being selfish all about me and my business, but putting yourself in other people's shoes and having that really frank adult conversation. And I've seen the karma come back to actually help that business owner. That person will leave happy, talk about you in a good light. So whether it's, customers or other team members may find you because of the goodwill that you've left with that person.
You got a nice speaking voice. Bloody
Thanks.
voice sounds like I'm holding my nose. You got this wonderful bloody voice.
John, it's taking me 6 months now of doing these to really get my radio voice on. So,
oh, you're doing well. For anyone that can't see this, he's actually quite a good-looking rooster too. I look like a hangover.
I'm in my active wear at the moment. Yeah. What's the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Just keep an eye on the numbers. It's really easy when things are going well. And this was sort of number 2 on my most stressful situation. When things are going well, it's quite easy to sort of just lose track of what's really going on. We've done this and we got in a lot of trouble. That was probably the most stressful situation. Number 2, got a lot of trouble with the tax office. We thought things were going well and took an eye off the numbers, and it sort of caught up with us in the end. And it's not hard to do. Gee, it's not hard to do at all, but you've got to be doing it pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And if things are going wrong, you have to act very, very early. Don't just let it tick along and think it'll be right.
Yep.
There you go. Another sort of muddly sort of answer there, but keep an eye on your numbers.
That's good.
Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success, then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com.
We've talked a bit about adding people to the team. Any other wins or mistakes you want to share with the audience so they can kind of learn from it, or advice you give around hiring people?
We always do a trial.
Yep. Always use probation. Yep.
Yeah, but you can interview. I like to think I'm pretty good at interviews, but I'm regularly and repeatedly sort of reminded that I'm not. Interviews are, I wouldn't go as far as to say they're stupid, but you don't get a lot out of an interview. So make sure you do a trial, make sure you talk to that person through a probation period absolutely regularly, like we're talking before. So how's it going? Are you enjoying it? And during that period, you can build up enough of a rapport that they'll be honest, saying, the early starts are a bit much, or I don't know. And that's great. So, well, look, maybe it's not going to work for you. The probationary period is 3 months. How about you start looking for somewhere else? You give me 3 months, I'll give you 3 months of work, and then you go somewhere else. So that's probably a good way to do it. Until you get people on the team and working in the environment, you're probably not going to learn a great deal about them.
Yeah.
Particularly for hospitality, where the big skills that you really want are soft skills. You don't necessarily need someone that makes a great coffee. So do all the baristas out there. It's not that hard. You can train people to do it. And if you've got someone who's not a particularly nice person, Paul Roos. Apparently Paul Roos had on the Swans change room, no dickheads.
Yes.
Wonderful. I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard that's true.
No, it is true. Someone mentioned in a podcast earlier on in the series, the All Blacks actually stole that from Paul Roos, and they've had it on their locker room for ages, no dickhead policy. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your skill set is. Maybe it is for more technical work, but for us, you can train people to do most things. You want someone that loves being around people, someone that pitches in, someone that turns up on time, and someone that sort of cares about your business.
Totally agree. As I've said on other casts, I always, when I'm hiring, look for attitude and aptitude. Get a smart person in with the right attitude, and it's fun to be around because you can train the rest. And the second one is, I think it was a Chinese proverb I read once, which was, "Man who cannot smile should not own shop." I don't know if that is a true proverb or not, but I read it somewhere.
But I've heard that a few times, and
It goes for hiring staff in hospitality, particularly. If someone is grumpy or just not a happy person or a people person, don't fucking put them out in front of your shop. That anyone, like you said, anyone can make a reasonable coffee. It's more about the experience and the engagement that the customers are having. And this is something I was going to comment on, that years ago when I was at Lark and going into Atlas a fair bit, I really noticed the culture of your team. It wasn't just yourself, you'd served me a few times, but the rest of your team were also happy and took notice. I really struck me how many of the locals that your team knew their names and had, a good conversation with them.
Yeah, that's part of it. We were talking earlier about the difference between Stagg and Atlas, and I guess that's it in a nutshell. At Atlas, we've got regular customers, and we love to get to know them and see them all the time. I know every business says they have regular customers, and of course they do, but ours are people that work within a block, and they're coming in to every single day, and they're part of our community. It's a great little community, the Busmore.
Yeah.
Probably not the nicest bit of Hobart, but that might even make it even better community. You can sort of come in there and get off Macquarie Street and off Elizabeth Street, and it's a little bit quiet, not that quiet, and it's a really friendly atmosphere, and we have some specific things just to create that community. Like we've got a paper bag pile. Every day written on a paper bag there'll be a question that tries to engage people.
Yeah, I used to love that. I think one time I saw on that board, you had were you going for a Guinness Book of Record or something for most number of lattes or cappuccinos made in a day? Did you get it?
We did. I think we got it 3 times.
Wow!
We did it as a fundraiser for November.
And how many was it cappuccinos you had to make?
Cappuccinos. So I think the first time we got it, we did 279 in an hour, and the last time, it's an individual effort. The last time we did it, Sammy Gardner, who's still working with us now, did it, and she got I can't remember, 323 in an hour.
Wow.
It was absolutely amazing. And earlier we were talking about, looking after your staff and having a mature conversation, helping them to get where you want. That started because one of our staff was into photography and he couldn't break through into full-time work at the Mercury, and he had to turn down a lot of work with them to stay with us. And we sat down and we had a discussion about it, and he said, look, even though I haven't got a full-time job to go to, I feel like I have to go to be able to say yes when they call me. At the moment, I sort of say, no, sorry, I'm working here. And we sort of understood that, and we worked out a time frame. He said, but before I go, I want to give you something big. He said, what do you think about this? We go for the world record.
Wow. So it wasn't your idea. That's fantastic.
It was one of the photographers. He's still there. He's still working at the Mercury, Luke Bowden. Yeah.
Oh, I know Luke, yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows Luke. Yeah. But that was his idea.
Great.
I want to do something big for you. We're going to do a world record.
I've just done the numbers. So that's about one cappuccino every 11 seconds she made.
It's something like that. You do them in sets of 4. I think you have to do a set of 4 every, I think it was about 36 seconds, and you got to hold that up for an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, while we're still talking about people, what are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Find people that have a similar approach to you, that want to do what you want to do. Look after your people, talk to your people, have standards and procedures so everyone knows what they're doing. There's nothing worse than sitting down with someone and saying, oh, you know what, you're not doing a good job. And they go, what? I thought I was doing great. I've been doing this, and this. Yeah, well, I actually wanted you to do that, and that.
Yep.
That's a management failure 100%. And
absolutely.
I've certainly done it. So everyone knowing what they have to do and wanting to do it and feeling invested. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the businesses I'm working with at the moment has, as I like to say to his face, and I've said several times, he's the worst manager that I've met in the world, let alone work with. And that's a case in point, is just in his mind, he doesn't understand why the team member didn't do something this way or something at all, when he clearly hasn't communicated that, or there's no documented job description or procedures in the ops manuals, things like that. It's your responsibility as the manager, obviously, to make sure that's clearly communicated.
Totally. If you've got staff who want to do well and they're not doing it, it's pretty much your fault.
That's right. Yep.
They want to do well. You show them how to do well and show them what the standard is. And 9 times out of 10, they'll leap at it and they'll aim for the standard, and sometimes you got to help them get there. I think there's only one staff member pretty much in the history, maybe 2, that really, really wanted to do it, that just, despite training and help, couldn't get there. Only one in, 15 years. So
right. Well, what
about that didn't want to do it, he had to let go, but I'm thinking of the people that wanted to be part of the team and wanted to work there and wanted customer service excellence. I can only think of one that we just couldn't get over the line, and that's a big failure on my part, and that hurts a bit still.
What about professional development? Not in the IT or accounting space per se, but I guess as a business owner in hospitality, what professional development did you invest in yourself? Books, podcasts, courses, training, conferences, events, things like that?
When we first started, we'd go to coffee events and coffee conferences. There's a big one called MICE, Melbourne International Coffee Expo. I don't know why everything in Australia has to call itself international. It's supposed to be just a Melbourne coffee show. And learning about techniques. My wife is, I think she's a coffee judge, and she goes to all the barista competitions. And she's sort of developed skills through that. She's also a judge at the Hobart Royal Fine Food Awards, where they go through just a ridiculous amount of coffee over 4 days, and she comes home, she's twitching. She
can't sleep for 3 days.
You can't sleep, and her tongue's swollen, she's sticking out of her head. She said, what'd you do? I said, I drank 200 coffees today. So using those events to pursue to develop skills in the coffee business, there's a lot of networking there too, which is really, really useful.
Yeah.
For me, I guess, read a lot of business books, read a lot of hospitality books. I listen to a lot of podcasts just on the books. Here, I wrote this down. I did do some homework. If you're into hospitality, here's a couple of good ones. Setting the Table by Danny Cohen, and The Renegade Server. The Renegade Server is only a little one. I haven't seen many people talk about it, but just the real low-level nuts and bolts of doing well in a restaurant setting is fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Other things, I don't know. Yeah.
What about mentors or coaches along the way? Have you had any experience from?
Look, not really. I sort of wish I had. We've learned a lot of it ourselves. And that whole 5 years at Cara, I think a mentor probably could have taught us everything we learnt in 5 years in about 6 weeks. Yeah, I sort of feel as though I've missed out there.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm now too old or we're too far down the journey to benefit from a mentor, but look, not really. I hear people talking about the benefits of mentoring and sort of didn't really know where to go or how to or...
Yeah.
But, no.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors at the moment?
No.
It's not a test.
Oh, good.
Wouldn't mind actually briefly talking about exiting the business from an operational point of view. Obviously, you and Sue still own the 3, but maybe it'd be great for people to hear how you've been able to get yourself out, because you can choose now to work in the business. You don't have to be in there, but what your experience has been getting out of it and how you did it and what you do differently or advice you give others building up a hospitality business and stepping out day to day.
Yeah. Okay, that's probably a fairly easy question. At Stagg, we started from day one. I'm taking a lot of Sue's glory here. Sue started from day one, making sure the place was run through systems, procedures, very, very thoroughly. It's now quite an easy business to run. And if you go up there, you'll see more labels than
Officeworks.
Brother factory. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I was going to go for a Brother label printer factory. But everything's labelled, and it's the way it should work. Down at Atlas, not so much. I've been pretty fortunate with some staff who think that way, and they've sort of almost pushed me to the side. So, Jono, this isn't your strength. Let us do it. And been very, very lucky that a couple of the guys down there now have turned, I guess, what I do and what we do into systems and procedures, and they can now run it. And it's almost at the point now where someone else could just walk in and, not quite, but almost at the point where someone else could walk in and take on those systems and procedures. We're at the Stag, definitely. You walk in there and so what do? Oh, there's a label there. All right, I'll do that. And there's a label there. As
Michael E. Gerber from the E-Myth speaks about turnkey. You can throw the keys to anyone to the front door of your business, walk away, and they could run it.
Yeah, great book.
Yeah. Well, we're on to the final 5 questions then.
Woo, I'm ready for these.
What do you think's the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Staff.
Okay. And favourite business book which has helped you the most?
Look, I've got a couple. I could say How to Win Friends and Influence People with Dale Carnegie, but everyone's going to say that. So I've gone for one that's a little bit out of the box. Winning Every Day by Lou Holtz.
Was it Win Every Day?
Winning Every Day by Lou Holtz. He's an American football coach. Don't think he's sort of at the top level. I think he's a few levels down. But
no, he's one of the legends over there, Lou Holtz.
Yes, he is. Yeah. But for college football, interestingly, he talks about getting the little things right. If you can't get the little things right every single time, don't bother. You're not going to succeed. And I sort of thought about that a lot, and I've read that book a couple of times. It's a great read, and it's really easy to read. Yeah,
great. Any podcasts or online learning tools for your own professional development?
Look, heaps. There's Talking Tourism by Tourism Taz.
I listened to that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, small bit. I've got millions of the bloody things on my podcast list. I end up just listening to Freakonomics.
Yeah, I love Freakonomics. I used to listen to that.
Like Freakonomics.
What was the small business podcast you were about to say?
Small business, big marketing.
Yeah, someone put me onto that a few interviews ago, actually. I've started listening to Tim. He's really good. Tim Reid out of Noosa, I think he is. He's Australian.
I wish you'd condense it a bit. You've got to sort of sift through.
It is a bit long, yeah.
A lot of podcasts. Your podcast is a great length.
Yeah, thank you. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
Xero. Xero's awesome.
Yeah,
Xero,
great accounting package in the cloud. Love it.
Xero moved us from, the 19th bloody century into having a lot.
Interestingly, Craig Winkler, who founded MyOb, the accounting package, really big in the 80s. In 1983, he founded that business. He's a Kiwi, but he sold out to some investment wankers about 8 years ago who have now fucked up that business because they were too late getting into the cloud. This is MyOb I'm talking about. About 8 years ago, he sold out, and about 5 years ago, I think he started pumping money into Xero. He didn't found Xero, but he's been investing heavily in that over the years, and it's gone phenomenally well. Yeah,
it's great. It works. It just bloody works.
And finally, my favourite question, what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Don't be scared. Jump in with your boots on. You're going to make mistakes. Don't be scared to make mistakes. Believe in yourself. Do it, Jono. Don't be so bloody scared and get in there.
Yeah, good.
Hard to believe how scared I was at the start. So, what if I make a mistake? People will laugh at me, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. Yep. You make mistakes. Just do it. Just get in there and do it and have fun and meet some great people. And, don't be scared.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Well, thanks for your time today, John. I think the audience will get a shit ton of value out of what you shared with us today. Some really good insights and stories and advice, importantly, for anyone already got their business going and wanting to grow it and avoid some of the mistakes we've all made.
Yeah, look, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I think I probably learned more than you did.
I'll happily have you back on when you get the lodge up and going. I'd love to hear about that.
Oh, give me 3 years.
Done. I'll put it in my calendar now.
Right, me too.
Great. Thanks, mate.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And for our audience, we would greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.